Boyka has made many mistakes in his life, serving 10 years in Chornia prison in Russia, one of the toughest and most violent correctional facilities. He endured a difficult period of wrestling and fighting against extremely powerful opponents, to the extent that his leg was broken. Ultimately, he proved himself to be the best fighter in the world. One day, he managed to escape from prison with the help of a businessman. Now living in Ukraine, he continues in the world of professional wrestling and fighting, but this time with a higher level of professionalism. Because of his high skill and dangerous moves and his determination to win, he manages to defeat his opponent. People cheer his name, but he still cannot enter the legal fighting world. Back at Chornia prison, Warden Markov continues to organize betting on wrestling matches as usual. However, this time he has a new, incredibly strong and massive champion named Kosmar. This monster is so terrifying that when guards escort him out of his cell, they exercise extreme caution. Kosmar's opponents are terrified just by his appearance. As the match begins, Kosmar's opponent attempts to land a few punches, but they are completely ineffective, as if he were hitting a wall. Kosmar then decides to attack. In an instant, he lifts his opponent, throws him to the ground, and with a few powerful blows, he kills him, crushing his skull and winning the match easily. After everything he has done, Boyka is now trying to find himself and atone for his sins. He donates his winnings from every match to the church. The priest is very happy, especially because Boyka has helped them greatly, but at the same time, he wants Boyka to stop fighting, as it is too violent and causes harm to people. Boyka, however, sees it as a sport with rules, believing God gave him this skill for a purpose. At the Kiev Sports Center, Boyka is training as usual when Kirill, his agent, arrives with good news. He has secured an important match in the European Championship. This will be Boyka's ticket to legal, international recognition, but only on the condition that he wins the upcoming match and impresses the officials. On the day of the anticipated match, Boyka is extremely nervous, especially since his opponent, Victor, is talented and highly skilled. The match begins with a strong and fierce attack from Victor, who lands powerful and fast punches, matching Boyka's strength, skill, and performance. Boyka counters with powerful blows, lifting Victor and throwing him to the ground multiple times. Victor regains his strength and hits Boyka with severe strikes. The match is intense and exciting. Suddenly, Boyka channels all his energy and rage, delivering furious and spectacular blows. The audience is captivated by his unique skill. Victor attempts to continue the match despite his serious injuries, but Boyka finishes him off, knocking him down unconscious and bleeding heavily. Boyka wins, securing his spot in the European Championship. If he wins there, he will become one of the greatest fighters. If he loses, his dream will be over forever. This is his only chance to participate. Officials approach to congratulate Boyka on his victory, and Kirill hands him his winnings, making Boyka extremely happy. As Boyka leaves, he sees the ambulance taking Victor to the hospital in critical condition, fighting for his life. Boyka is immediately overcome with guilt, realizing he has harmed a person, just as the priest warned him. That night, he cannot sleep, terrified that Victor might have died, a possibility for which he could never forgive himself. The next day, Kirill confirms that Victor has died. Boyka is deeply affected by the news. He learns that Victor was from Russia and asks Kirill to bring him Victor's belongings from the training center to find out more about him. Through the belongings, he discovers that Victor was married and deeply loved his wife, realizing that his rage has now destroyed a family. Boyka asks Kirill for a fake passport so he can travel to Russia. Kirill warns him of the great danger. Boyka is an escaped convict, and if caught, he will be returned to prison forever. Furthermore, the championship is in 2 weeks, and he cannot miss the chance of a lifetime. However, Boyka ignores all warnings and angrily demands that Kirill secure the passport, despite the venture potentially destroying his life and dream. A solemn funeral is held for Victor in Russia, attended by all his family and loved ones, especially his wife, who is devastated by grief. The businessman Zgurov and his men attend the funeral to offer his condolences. After the ceremony, Zgurov informs Victor's wife that Victor owed him a large sum of money, and she must now repay the debt. He suggests she work for him until the full debt is settled. He also hints at wanting something else that would make her life easier. though it is something she would never agree to. Kirill manages to get the forged passport for Boyka and gives him instructions to ensure his safe return. Boyka takes a car until he reaches the Russian border. The border guards inspect his Russian passport and, after a few questions, allow the car to enter Russian territory. Boyka eventually arrives in the city where the widow lives and checks into a temporary hotel. He manages to locate the charitable association the widow runs and owns. He sees her, and she notices his presence. Just then, Slava, Zgurov's assistant, arrives and forcefully takes her away. Boyka asks the security guard stationed by Zgurov at the door, learning that no one is allowed to speak with her and that Slava was there to take her to her job. Her job is at a casino owned by Zgurov, where she serves drinks to customers. Coincidentally, the casino hosts illegal wrestling matches with large bets. The current match is between Igor, one of Zgurov's strongest fighters, and another wrestler who is easily overwhelmed and defeated due to Igor's legendary skills. As soon as Boyka sees the widow, he rushes to talk to her, but Slava and his men appear, preventing them from speaking. They then throw Boyka out of the casino, all under Zgurov's watchful eye. Slava makes a huge mistake by ordering Boyka to stay away from the widow, Alma, because she belongs to Zgurov. He curses Boyka and orders his men to beat him. Boyka responds with incredible speed, delivering powerful, skillful, and challenging blows. Despite the number of opponents, he eliminates them all in seconds. In his rage, Boyka grabs Slava's gun, disarms him, and strikes him. Slava's men lie defeated on the floor beside him. Zgurov appears, deeply impressed by Boyka's skill. He offers Boyka a job fighting for him, but Boyka refuses. All Boyka wants is to speak with Alma, but Zgurov forbids it, claiming he owns her and the entire city. Zgurov then threatens to kill Boyka if he ever approaches Alma again. Boyka remains haunted by his conscience and the battles he has fought. Determined to see Alma, he goes to her association the next day. When the guard tries to stop him, Boyka strikes him once, knocking him unconscious, and enters to see Alma despite the prohibition. He finds her sitting among the children. Shocked by his boldness, she speaks with him. Boyka gives her Victor's belongings, learning that she and her husband took out a loan from Zgurov to open the association, and she is now working for him to repay that debt. Alma is overwhelmed with grief when Boyka confesses that he was the cause of her husband's death during their fight in the ring. Boyka tries to explain it was an accident and expresses remorse for his actions, explaining he was fighting violently against his will. Alma cannot forgive him, refusing the money he offers, as it is stained with her husband's blood. She throws the money in his face and angrily forces him out. Boyka's guilt intensifies. He leaves the association enraged and strikes the guard again. At the same time, Zgurov is hiring new fighters, but they are merely children and unqualified for competition. He needs someone strong and highly skilled to win matches for him. At that moment, Boyka storms the casino after striking the guards. Before Slava can shoot him, Zgurov stops him, wanting to hear what Boyka has to say. Boyka proposes a deal. He will fight for Zgurov in exchange for Alma's freedom. Zgurov likes the offer and agrees to a deal of 3 matches, all of which Boyka must win for Alma to be freed. Furthermore, Boyka must defeat Zgurov's champion in the final match. They agree that the 3 matches will take place within 1 week. Before Boyka heads to Zgurov's private training facility, he discovers that Zgurov has learned his entire identity, including his real name, his life story, and his escape from prison. Zgurov reassures him that no one will touch him because the entire city police force works for him. Boyka is now resolved to help Alma in any way he can to earn her forgiveness. He calls Kirill, informing him that he must delay his return by a week, but promising to be back in time for the championship. After Alma finds out what Boyka has done for her, she goes to speak with him. Zgurov raises no objection, as they are now both working for him. Alma is upset that Boyka is fighting for her freedom and urges him to leave her, believing he is doing this only to impress and pursue her. Boyka clarifies that he merely wants to correct a wrong he committed and free her from her servitude to ease his own conscience. Boyka arrives at the training facility, finding strong young men there. One of them challenges him, trying to stop him from training and initiating a fight. Boyka kicks him once, knocking him unconscious, which instills fear in the others. The first of the 3 matches is against Boris, a strong and fast fighter. Boris begins with a barrage of quick, powerful strikes, but Boyka skillfully dodges them all and defends himself fiercely. Boyka attacks his opponent with a devastating flying kick and follows up with his signature skillful, acrobatic moves. Boris quickly gets up and tries to strike Boyka, but receives much stronger blows, proving he is no match. Boyka's superior fighting skills are evident. With a few more hits, he knocks Boris to the ground. However, Boyka stops himself at the last moment, remembering what happened to Victor, and contents himself with winning the first match. Alma, who was watching, comes to offer him a drink, as ordered by Zgurov. Boyka asks her if she knows a place where he can train, and she offers him the gym at the association's headquarters. The next day, Boyka arrives at the association. The guard, who wanted revenge, cannot touch him, as Boyka now works for his boss. In the gym, Boyka puts forth his maximum effort to prepare for the new match, which will be against a fiercer opponent. He allows the children to watch him, happily accepting their presence, and begs the nuns to let them stay and enjoy the training. He gets a moment to speak with Alma alone, realizing how much she misses her husband and is unable to overcome his death, which only increases his guilt. The second match is unconventional, as Boyka is forced to fight 2 opponents at once, the Zgurov brothers. Boyka is shocked, realizing Zgurov is trying to make him lose so he can keep him there forever. Initially, the brothers corner Boyka, hitting him from different directions simultaneously. However, Boyka quickly manages to focus, striking the first brother with terrifying strength and ferocity, incapacitating him for a while. He then grabs the second brother and hits him even harder, dropping him to the ground defeated. He returns to the first brother, who has partially recovered, and hits Boyka, but he quickly receives several powerful counterblows. Boyka shows incredible strength, violence, speed, and skill, but fighting 2 wrestlers simultaneously is difficult. Consequently, he takes a strong blow to his back, causing him intense pain. But as soon as he sees Alma watching, he regains his strength and fights with greater ferocity. He delivers the strongest possible strikes to his opponents. Ultimately, with his high skill and unique moves, he manages to defeat both brothers in a spectacular match. The crowd cheers his name. This means the final match will be against Igor. However, Zgurov has a devilish plan. An official from Kornia prison arrives, receiving a bribe from Zgurov to bring Kosmar for an unusual match. They learn that Kosmar's opponent will be Yuri Boyka, the escaped convict from their prison. Following the intense match, Boyka goes to continue his training. Alma visits the association and watches him practice despite his severe injuries. She offers him medicinal herbs to apply to his wound, which will help alleviate the pain. It becomes clear that she is beginning to understand his reasons for fighting for her and standing up against Zgurov. When Boyka asks her why she never thought of escaping the city, she explains that she cannot abandon the association and the children under her care, realizing they would surely become gang members and criminals if left on the streets. Zgurov goes to speak with Alma, believing she is now infatuated with Boyka. He reminds her that Boyka is a criminal and her husband's killer. However, she defends Boyka, insisting that the death was merely an accident. When she stands up to him, Zgurov realizes she is supporting Boyka and warns her that if Boyka returns to the association, he will kill him. The next day, Kirill calls Boyka, having booked a bus ticket for him that departs immediately after the final match. Boyka learns that the public and the press are waiting for him, and his dream is within reach. When Boyka returns to his lodging, he finds Alma waiting. She wants to know the full truth of what happened during her husband's match. Boyka cannot tell her the exact details, but confesses that he regrets many things in his life, acknowledging he was a very violent person filled with hatred and anger. He admits that in the match with Victor, he made a mistake he had made many times before, seeing Victor only as an obstacle to his dream of being the world's best fighter. He admits he should have seen him as a human with a family and a wife, but assures her he never intended to kill him and is deeply remorseful. The third match is against Igor, Zgurov's strongest fighter, and it is undoubtedly the most challenging match of his life. Despite his exhaustion, Boyka begins the match with a fierce attack, but Igor quickly responds with strikes of immense power and ferocity. Both fighters are equally strong, possessing great skill and experience, but Igor dominates the match for a long time, nearly defeating Boyka. Boyka frees himself from Igor's grip and lands a strike, only to receive a powerful low blow that sends him crashing to the ground. A powerful blow to his back leaves him immobilized. However, as soon as he sees a heartbroken Alma, Boyka partially recovers his senses and returns to fight with all his strength, but he takes several more fatal blows. Boyka quickly employs his strongest moves, attacking Igor with powerful acrobatic strikes and several clean punches that cause Igor to lose his balance. Igor falls to the ground unconscious. Alma is overjoyed by his victory and rushes to congratulate him. Boyka has fulfilled his promise, and Zgurov is now required to free her. Alma has only 15 minutes before the bus leaves, but Zgurov suddenly tells Boyka that the agreement is not yet finished. He claims Igor was not his champion and demands that Boyka fight a fourth match. Boyka is furious and initially refuses to fight, but the problem is that if he doesn't take the match, everything he has done will be in vain, and Alma will remain indebted to Zgurov and imprisoned by him. Zgurov promises that if Boyka wins this final match, he will truly free her. At that moment, Kirill calls to confirm Boyka is on the bus, but Boyka tells him he will be slightly late, assuring him he will finish quickly and arrive before the tournament. At that very moment, the legendary champion Kosmar arrives and enters the casino, stunning the audience with his terrifying appearance and massive size. What frightens Boyka even more is seeing Markov, the warden who knows him well, arriving to watch the match. The legendary wrestling match begins with a swift attack from Boyka, delivering strikes of extreme force and violence. However, Kosmar is completely unfazed by any of his blows. Kosmar returns the attack, grabbing and crushing Boyka. The difference in power is terrifyingly clear, with the advantage massively in Kosmar's favor. Kosmar unleashes his strongest possible attacks against Boyka, who receives them without being able to do anything, collapsing before him and falling to the ground. But when Boyka sees Zgurov celebrating and laughing, and Alma looking defeated, he regains consciousness and is overcome with rage. He returns to the old Boyka, who never surrendered. He rises and attacks the giant, enduring his powerful strikes. Kosmar grabs and crushes him, and everyone is sure that Boyka is severely threatened with defeat. But miraculously, Boyka rises again, attacking Kosmar with powerful and overwhelming blows. He manages to gain control of the match, delivering strikes with unparalleled strength and fury, causing Kosmar to fall to the ground for the first time in his life. Boyka takes advantage of this, fiercely continuing his attack. He grabs Kosmar's arm and breaks it, then leaps into the air and powerfully strikes him with his leg, sending Kosmar flying out of the ring. Kosmar is knocked unconscious, and Boyka wins a historical match. Zgurov, however, refuses to honor his promise and free Alma. He orders his men to attack Boyka with clubs, beating him severely and leaving him defeated on the floor. But a man like Boyka will never surrender. He rises and fights them off, breaking their heads and attacking any guard who dares to approach him with utmost rage and violence. One of the guards shoots him in the shoulder, but Boyka overpowers him, takes his weapon, and kills Slava. He chases Zgurov, who is holding Alma hostage, and threatens to kill her unless Boyka drops his weapon. Boyka complies, but Alma manages to free herself, giving Boyka the opportunity to attack. He takes another bullet to the stomach, but grabs Zgurov, strikes him until he chokes and kills him. Alma is saddened by what has happened. Boyka asks her to forgive him for everything he has done. Sensing his genuine remorse, she accepts his apology, but before she can finish speaking, the Russian police arrive and arrest him on charges of murder and prison escape. Boyka is returned to Kornia prison. 6 months later, Alma visits him. She thanks him for everything he did for her and shows him drawings the children made of him training. She apologizes for the delay in her visit, emphasizing that what he did for her was immense, especially in restoring her freedom and dignity. She confirms that she forgives him from her heart. After these words, Boyka feels a profound peace, knowing he finally did something right in his life. He is no longer saddened by the loss of his dream and freedom, as he gains something much greater in return. He is now once again the sole champion of the prison, with no one able to defeat him.